Like to welcome everyone, guests, council, staff, press, to our regular meeting for the month of May. Kind of regular, it's on Wednesday. Everybody had a chance to look over the agenda. Any problems with that? Have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor? Motion passes. All right, public comments. Joe Ventrice from Red Cross. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to say a few things, three things actually. So I'm wearing the one thing, battle of badges. We are in the initial planning stages for that. We met with Chief Howe concerning use of his facility and him being part of the sponsorship of that. And we also sent out flyers to, you got yours, yeah, to the agencies that we're looking at to promote the event. And so I just want to make sure that the guys understand, you might not have all the staff, but what this is really promoting this day for a blood drive. And having a little fun to see who might win the most units donated. So that's one thing. We did select the 4th of August, but we realized that that's the start of the Mitchell Craft Fair, and so that could be a problem. So we'll look at that again with everybody to see if that's a benefit or not. Thinking maybe not, but. So that's Battle of the Badges. We have been doing shelter site surveys. This is where we open a facility when there's a disaster of some sort. We have got completed First Baptist Church here. They are now on the list as a shelter. So if the emergency manager says we need a shelter, they're one. Higgins is also in consideration. We're still looking at them. And then the third the consideration could be the new fire department. We went to visit Niles a week or so ago. He gave us a tour, and it's a perfect, has everything you need for a shelter. So I'm not quite sure what the approval process would be for that, but it could be something if allowed, we can look at that and get them on the list. Of course, we don't open shelters very much. Very count on one hand in the last 30 years that this area has had to open shelters. So just wanted to give you that update of what we've been doing. And then the last thing is all this need for volunteers. And there is definitely a lack of certain skill sets that we have. But I tell you, I was at the 5K run with the table, and there are some people there that would definitely be good Red Cross volunteers. So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Mr. Danny McIntosh, talk about water.
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, town staff. Glad y'all are here. I appreciate you being here. As I have begun my maternity leave in the county tax office, I'm nearly halfway into that now. But I've done an unscientific survey, and as the virus has sort of lifted, I've been out in town and visited with people, had to watch deeds that are coming through, seeing car tags around town. And what I'm going to say is, we have somewhat of an influx of visitors and new residents and so on now, not from Florida, as we've become accustomed to since the 50s, but they're coming now from the West, Arizona, Utah, California, New Mexico, whatever. And I think it might be worthy to know that, Lake Mead may not be as far as you need to look. The water there in the reservoir now is at its lowest point, I think, ever since the dam was built. And they have actually been, constructing a new intake lower than the original intake, and they're now using that. So, water is a topic. We've never had any water problems really around here. There's always a spring, well, or whatever. I was talking to a man last week who had moved in a mobile home on some adjoining property, drilled a well and properly drained the well from the house next door. So they had to back up and revisit that. So, what I'm here tonight to say is, don't forget Bowling Creek. It's important going forward. It's important to keep that in mind and keep it at the forefront in any way possible. Thank you. That's all I've got. Glad it's springtime.
Thank you, Danny. Miss Lucy Dahl, talk about streetlights.
Yeah, well, just one, really. I was here in March, and Heather was gonna get up with Tracy Evans and decide once and for all who is in charge of the streetlights and how can we get, this situation fixed. So I'm hoping you found out something.
And I'm gonna tell you, Lucy, I did. Tracy, I think, has been out of work some with, some family medical issues.
Oh,
And I had sent him some emails,
okay.
left a couple of messages, have not had a conversation with him
Okay.
yet
All right,
about that. As I've said before, we pay it, the town pays a fee
yeah,
for the street lights to be on, but the poles, the lights, all the infrastructure into them, the wiring, the maintenance has always been with French Broad.
mhm,
They are the ones that basically control everything that's on that pole. And you
Okay.
have to get permission to put anything on that pole from them, not us. It's
Yeah.
not town property.
okay, all right. good.
So, I mean, my position on that is, I told one other person, who was having issues about their new street light, tell them as far as the town's concerned, can cut it off. Let us know and we'll take that off our bill. I mean,
Okay,
but they're the ones that we
Okay.
don't have any equipment or staff that can go change out
Right,
street
yeah.
lights or do anything like
yeah,
that.
okay,
As far as I've been able to find, there's no formal agreement. That's just the way it's been. Maybe there was a written agreement
mhm,
decades and decades ago.
okay,
But as far as I've been able to find, they do own the pole. It's
Yeah.
theirs.
yeah.
And
Okay.
they own the light and they maintain it.
Okay, I think what we'll do then, the neighbors who are interested in fixing the problem, will come up with some ideas for how it could be taken care of and ask Tracy what he can do. So,
That sounds like a great idea, and like I said, if he responds back to me, I'll let you know, and I apologize that I haven't let you know
yes,
that he
okay.
hadn't responded to me, but I know that he's had some issues he's had to deal with that
And you have a few other things on your plate too.
sometimes.
Lucy, if you guys will go to them
Yeah.
and you don't get anywhere,
Okay.
holler back and we'll try to,
Okay.
We'll try to sit down with
sit
him.
down with them too, but.
I think if we maybe put in writing what it is would help us, he can say, oh yeah, I can do that.
Right.
So we just didn't know who to go to, so we'll
Right.
start with a document, goes to him, and then he can figure something out, and if he can't, then I'll come back.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
thank you,
Lucy.
Lucy.
All right, that wraps up the public comment section. Moving on to item number 3. We got 3 sets of minutes. Everybody had a chance to look over all 3 of those.
I'd make a group motion that all 3 sets be in the record.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right, we don't have any public hearings, so we'll move on to item number 5, the presentations. Police and Public Works proclamations for the week of 5/16, is that correct?
Yeah, May 16th through the 21st, both of them fall on the same week.
On the same week. So bear with me as I read these. I'll first read the one for the police officers. Whereas the town of Burnsville Town Council supports and recognizes the vital role law enforcement officers have within our communities. These servants and their families make enormous personal sacrifices, but have answered their community's call to service in a profession that comes with inherent danger at any given time, may place them in harm's way to secure the well-being of others. And whereas being a law enforcement officer is a noble and honorable profession, it is a profession which many cannot do or will never attempt due to the rigors of the profession. Law enforcement officers must be highly trained and appropriately resourced to meet the challenges of today. This council will, on behalf of the citizens of the town of Burnsville, continue to support and appropriately resource the Burnsville Police Department to meet the growing needs of our town. And whereas, as we state our support for our law enforcement officers, they know, and it is expected, they duly build relationships and trust with the residents they serve. They must do so with honor and integrity, daily protecting the innocent, aiding those in need with dignity and compassion, and performing their duties in a fair and impartial manner. They must perform their duties in keeping with the highest law enforcement standards and remain faithful to their solemn oath. I, Mayor Russell Fox, and the Burnsville Town Council do hereby designate the week of May 15th through the 21st, 2022 as National Police Week. I urge all citizens to join in commemorating police officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. That's a lot of proclamation. Move on to the Public Works proclamation. Anybody else want to read this?
You're doing good.
No papers.
National Public Works Week, May 15th through the 21st, 2022. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of Burnsville. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our community streets, water supply, water treatment system, solid waste system, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the town of Burnsville to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works employees and public works programs in their respective communities. Now therefore it be proclaimed that I, Mayor Russell Fox, and the Burnsville Town Council do hereby designate the week of May 15th through 21st, 2022 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to reflect on the importance of the contributions our public works professionals and employees make to protecting our community's health, safety, and quality of life. We don't have anybody here, but thank you, Police, Mr. Chief. We don't have anyone else here from any of those departments, but. All right.
Mr. Mayor, kind
Yes.
of along those lines, today's National Firefighter Day.
It is.
Yeah, so I'd like to
That was the night.
ask today.
It's today according to Facebook, is that right?
It's International
Yeah.
Volunteer.
International.
Volunteer
Firefighters
Firefighter
Week's in
Day.
September.
Yeah,
We've already
yeah.
got that on our calendar.
Yeah, but I'd like to recognize the guys that are here.
Yeah.
So thank, now,
Yeah.
Dan, I don't know.
And Randy.
Randy.
And Randy.
All right, moving on to item number 6, manager's report, Ms. Hockaday.
Okay, grants submitted, which we're very excited about last week. Our 5 grants were submitted on the behalf of the town of Burnsville to the Department of Environmental Quality, their Division of Water Infrastructure, for 4 water and sewer projects and one application to move or transition a current water treatment plant loan into a grant. The projects, there were 2 sewer projects. One is repair of the east sewer interceptor that runs down East Main Street near the creek there and all the manholes. There was another one submitted to replace and upgrade the Bakers Creek pump station. And then on the water side, there was an application for upgrades to the raw water intake on Pensacola, the line that goes from the intersection of the Pensacola line and the Bowlins Creek line up to the plant, and then repairs to the Bowlins Creek line as well. The water projects were not scoring as high as you might hope, but they were. We're just hoping that everybody else is kind of in the same situation. I mean, it's for repair or replacement of old, aging infrastructure. DWI's guidelines put a lot of emphasis on water pressure issues, and the engineers we've talked to have said they're setting the bar way too low, on that. So, but we're hoping everybody's kind of in the same situation we are. We don't have contamination, thankfully, and we don't have a lot of serious pressure issues. The other water project was a replacement of the 1915 water main that goes up East and West Main Street around the square, and some aging water lines that are in adjacent neighborhoods, both on the east side and the west side. So we'll wait and see. We're thinking maybe July. I know they have another round of funding they're thinking in September, so they need to get these out. But we did receive confirmation that they have received all those applications, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that some of them will be successful. The total pot of money for at-risk communities, such as ours, is $190 million. I know each community can receive up to $15 million. I know that High Country Council of Government submitted 15 applications for at-risk communities, including ours. So when you start doing the math, you're thinking not every project's going to get funded, but we feel like that we submitted, the best applications we could based on an analysis with engineers of our current capital improvement plan and our asset management plan, and so we're hopeful that those are successful. Another update on a grant that was already received, actually in a joint effort between the county and the town from Dogwood Health Trust. We've talked about this before. There was a portion of that money that was set aside for studies. We let out an RFQ for a study to update our asset management and capital improvement plan, and also to create a master plan for all of our infrastructure and look at what future needs are and possible places we could locate or improve infrastructure. We met with the county manager, myself met with and Shane met with engineers on last Friday on that, and so they're underway and putting the scope of what they're going to provide to us together. I've had more discussions with the lead engineer today, and so I think there's going to be some promising. I think we're going to get a lot of good value out of those studies. It's going to help us a lot moving forward in the future and making plans for the future. And they project probably about 6 months to get that work done. So November, we're looking. November, early December, to have something to present to you guys. FEMA, we are moving along with our projects. They have finally got out of the mitigation queue and they've moved into the environmental queue. I don't think they'll be there long, and then they move into the payment queue. So we're hoping to hear on the projects we have Meadow Road, Azalea Lane, the damage that was up at the maintenance shed, damage over on Reservoir and Bowditch, the corner there. We're hoping to hear soon that those projects have been obligated. And then they move from the federal world into the state grants program through the Department of Security. So DPS, Public Safety, not Public Security. So we've talked to the grants manager there, and we're just waiting again for them to tell us the money's there and to start working on these projects. The last thing I had was the wastewater treatment plant estimate that we've been waiting on from Withers on repairs down there, and I don't have it. I did talk with the engineer today. They're gonna come tomorrow at 2 and meet with me and present what they have. So I'll have more on that the next time we meet. And the tax report, I think you all have gotten that ahead of time. Chad sent it out. Collections keep trickling in. I will tell you, I had some conversations with Ms. Fonda Thomas down at the county about a firm they use in some of their difficult collection endeavors down at the county. Made contact with them, and they sent me some preliminary information on what they do. All of the fees get charged back to the property owner who's delinquent. None of it comes out of the town. But I'm gonna have more discussions with them. They have an attorney that they're gonna have call me, have some talks. So obviously we have a lot less delinquency than a lot of places, but you know, as noted, some people are sort of frequent flyers. They do it every year and let it pile up. So we will have more information about that probably next month. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Heather. All right, moving on to item number 7, Mr. Chad Fox.
Thank you,
Clerk,
Mr.
update.
My first item is the Bike and Pedestrian Acceleration Plan. The steering committee will have the second full meeting. It'll be virtual this time. It's gonna be on May 16th at 1 o'clock, and they're expected to review a draft scoring approach to the table of projects that they've been working on over the last little bit of time. We also need to set another budget work session, and we were hoping the dates of May 9th or 11th would be possible at 10 o'clock. If you all are able to, we could have our second budget work session one of those dates if it's to your liking.
Either
That would
one's
be-
fine with
I
me.
believe that would be Monday or Wednesday. of
Yeah,
next
I'll
week.
just go to work and just call me when you get started.
I'll give
When
you
you
time.
forget.
What are you doing?
I'm good with,
Randy, what about you?
I'd love Monday myself.
you good with
I
that?
would appreciate Monday if that would work for everybody else.
It's
Bill?
fine for me,
And I
Bill.
think I'm working every Monday, but I'll see about getting off.
You won't take long.
I think it'll be pretty short.
Yeah, it won't be
Won't be long.
It won't be long.
That'll be the 11th.
The 9th.
The 9th,
9th at 10 o'clock.
at
in the
10
morning.
o'clock.
That's
Is
good.
that okay with you?
Yeah,
You sure?
I'll
Okay.
make
Well,
that.
Okay, and my last item is that First Friday market. Melanie St. Jean is here with us. We met, myself and Brian met with her on the square. She's looking to have the market on the square with around 20 vendors, and this year she's hoping to do September and October. We talked about several items, and she answered all of our questions very well. We discussed the layout, insurance, no stakes in the ground, trash, parking, sidewalks and signage, where the booths are gonna be, and it all seemed very, very well planned. And if you all are supportive of that, take some action, we can get her started on her market this fall.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased with everything that was put in there. I thought you done a very good job with that. I have no problems. Any discussion?
No, I'm good, y'all.
Got a motion to approve
I'll make
that.
that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
mhm.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And that's it for me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chad. All right. Shane Dale's not here, is any,
I'm just gonna get one update from him, the gear drive on the 5 plant that we've ordered. He got an email that, looking at a ship date of, I think it was June the 2nd or 3rd. So, fingers crossed, we can keep everything floating the way it's supposed to be out there while we wait for this to get here.
all right.
Oh, and one other thing he wanted to tell y'all, that the pump at OMC, the 3rd pump, it has been installed. They may have a little work left to do, but, you know, the next part of that is figuring out how we're gonna finance running the line to connect with the county's line, so that we can divert flow from out here to East Jancy, which desperately needs flow. So that was the only 2 things I wanted to mention.
Very good, thanks. All right, Miss Leslie, talk
Okay.
about money.
Yeah, so,
Hope we got some.
not enough, not ever enough, I mean, never. I sent the budget versus actual out, you know, for up through Friday, with the overtime report. Anybody have any questions about it? Okay. I'm gonna wait until next month on the budget amendment and gather some more information before we do, and I probably need to do several. We also need to set the date for our public hearing on the budget, and we're thinking we'd do that at our regular meeting in June. It'll be June the 2nd. That's okay. We need a motion, don't we, for that?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Okay. We need to just discuss the COLA as a percentage on what we want to do. If you Google the COLA, the Social Security is 5.9%. I looked at that labor board that we've normally tied it to, and it was 3.2, and those are, you know, pretty high. So I just sent out this worksheet for you guys, with just some different options. And tried to stay below that, what we link it to on that labor board. So you had I don't know if you can understand it or not, but this is the general fund, and then this is the water fund. And I tried to put in here how much was actually left that I had after, you know, after what we've got allowed in the budget before we take out these raises. And as a whole, this is how much the 2% will cost you, the 2.5, the 2.7, the 3, and the 3.2 for the general fund. And then the water fund, same deal, 2 and 2.5, 2.7, 3, and 3.2. I threw out that we could, you know, do anything you wanted to.
Last year, Leslie, we were at 2, is that?
We were, cause that thing that we actually used, the Department of Labor, was 1.8, and so.
So we were actually a little
ran-
higher
yeah,
than
we
the
went to
Department of
2.
Labor.
Yeah, cause I mean, you know,
I mean, I understand that the cost of living is higher at this point currently. But I just feel like that if we set that bar that high, I mean, we can't backpedal, you know, next year and be less than.
you know, and we'd actually talked about maybe doing a bonus instead of doing as much.
How about we look at this till Monday and take it into the work session?
Can do that, for sure.
And then
They were
like-
just looking for, I mean, this is sort of the final piece.
Sure.
And there's a
Yeah.
few other things, but this is sort of the final big piece in finishing
Yeah,
the budget.
what I would,
Have a little more discussion
yeah,
on it.
what I would say is, if you looked at 2 or 2.5 and the bonus, it comes out less than the 2.7. So it's either the 2 or the 2.5 and the bonus. But I mean, that's probably worth a discussion.
But if you leave it lower and have the $500 bonus, you're gonna have catching up next year to do, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it
wouldn't
changes from,
that-
it's gonna depend on the
It
inflation
needs to be
rate.
a higher percentage next year if we go low this year.
It's based on the inflation.
I mean,
rate.
it's based on
It could
every
be-
year.
It could be.
Could go either way.
And the social security number is very high this year, but you're also looking at people who, you know, are probably not eligible for merit pay. I mean, it's what their social security is gonna be raised. You know, they're not employed anymore where they have an opportunity to change jobs and get a higher wage or.
Yeah, and I don't know if
I
they've.
think the labor department is much more, their numbers are closer to what our people are looking at, you know. And like I said, don't know where the economy's gonna go with this. Right now, I know it's a rough time for people, but, you know, when you set, I guess, when you set the salary, or not the salary, but the hourly rate up, then you can't, you know,
Can't go back.
you can't go back, you wanna go up more, so.
Now, when everybody's actually at pretty much at the league average. So we're paid appropriately.
So everybody in agreement to hold on to that till the work session and discuss it.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Unless you need something else.
We can plug it in whenever y'all, this was sort of the last big piece, so that's.
It is.
It won't be a
Yeah.
problem to plug it in. I mean, you have the numbers there in front of you,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, because there's very few things that's left. I mean, this is it, and then after we get done, then I can fix this and update it and send it out to you, and we'll still be fine to pass it on June the 2nd.
Then we'll be ready for the next meeting.
Yeah, it'll be ready.
Yes, it'll go out before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Y'all will get it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be ready to vote on
If I
it.
can
Yeah.
finish my budget message.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll try to get out by the end of that week.
Thank you.
The last thing on mine is that I submitted the required ARPA report. Spent months preparing for it, didn't we? And it was one of the
Took
easiest
about
things.
15 minutes, yeah. I mean, I bet we got 4 or 5 calls from different agencies all around the state. Are y'all ready to do this? Do you know what to do? And you're like, we've been through 1,000 hours of classes to know what to do. And then when she pulled it up, and it took 15 minutes, so.
I'm like, I'm afraid to hit submit because I'm afraid I've not done so
I
right.
know. I mean,
It's like it says, are you sure?
I
we got
know.
calls from the league, from the school of government, from High Country, there was another, like a private agency or something that called, do you need any help filling out that report?
It was very easy. I mean, thank goodness, it was very easy. Way easier than 941, so.
Right.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to Chief Howell with his report on the fire department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You do have a call summary report. It's pretty typical of any other month. We're averaging about 30 calls somewhere like that a month. We're up to 152 for the year, and our big ones this month seem to be MVAs and fire alarms. Thankfully, we're coming out of the heating season, so structure fires are down countywide, so we're glad for that to happen. And so we're carrying right along with that. A couple of other items I want to mention, we have scheduled our open house for the new building. We kind of waited for the weather to break, and we're trying to dodge Mother's Day and a whole bunch of events that are taking place, graduation this month. So the earliest date we could come up with was June the 11th, starting at 11 o'clock from 11 to 2, of course, over at our Pine Knoll Street address. So everyone's invited to the open house then. We did apply for the $10,000 COVID grant. We got notified that we did receive that grant. They haven't deposited it yet. They're going to direct deposit it, so we haven't gotten the funds yet. But we were notified we weren't going to get that. I did apply also for a $30,000 supplemental grant. That was not a matching grant. That had some equipment in it. The deadline on the application for that was May the 1st, so hopefully we'll hear something back from that in the next few days. Also, our state grant, which I applied for, it's a 50-50 matching grant, so I applied for a little over $14,000 worth of equipment with it. We'll have to match half of that, and they're supposed to notify people the 15th of May about whether you receive that grant as well, so we're kind of looking at hopefully some money coming in here in the next few days from grants. So that's where we are, and we're carrying on as usual.
We like money coming in.
We do. It helps, every little bit
It does
helps.
help. Thank you, Niles.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Buchanan. So who done the pie chart first? Was it Niles or you? I can't remember.
Niles
That's all
has
right.
copied me, but.
Oh. I couldn't remember which one was
He won't
first.
even
so.
let me have that one thing.
His is pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's got the numbers over here.
It's a lot larger.
I told you.
It's a lot larger too.
He's much better. We do have our call logs. A couple things I'd like to mention that's not on my list. One was, we did have the Fit Families 5K this past Saturday. I'd like to thank Chief Howell and, with all his help, it went smoothly, very smoothly, with everything. A lot of volunteers. Jeff Howell, Communications with Emergency Services, was very helpful as well. And, we went, pulled it off without an incident. They had to skip it last year with COVID and all, so they were getting back at it. I think they had a good participation. It went well. The only thing I mentioned on this list is, I'm a little dragging today, because we had qualifying last night, and the rest of our group is coming in today, so our guys are getting in their yearly training over the last 2 days with firearms, so they'll be good to go for another year. On my list, I have a discussion of noise ordinance. We had a issue come up, over, I guess it was last weekend before last, about some concerns of noise from local businesses having entertainment, those types of things, and discussion of what our noise ordinance was. I'm not sure how familiar ours is kind of broad and vague, and there's not really a time limit associated with it. Our noise ordinance is always in effect, and basically it's written as so if it's bothering someone, it's basically complaint based. If we get complaints, we go and start with a conversation and go from there. Moving forward, it was suggested that maybe some alterations, some exceptions for maybe commercial districts, commercial businesses up to a certain time might be appropriate. I know other places have done that type of thing. They'll have a standard noise ordinance, but then they'll also have exceptions for entertainment venues up to a certain time, be that 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever time that jurisdiction would choose. So I guess my question for the board is, would you all like to direct me to find some options about some things that you might consider going forward with regards to the noise ordinance? Because it seems strange for us to permit entertainment venues and have businesses that have outdoor entertainment, which will draw people, but that entertainment, it even goes to where, the entertainment we have on the square, technically that's a violation of the noise ordinance if it's bothering someone currently. So we might want to look at some language about putting in some exceptions for festivals, events, and things like that nature, entertainment venues, up to a certain time, whatever you all choose.
I would like for you to look into it and come back to the board with some options.
I'll look at, if it's the board's pleasure, I'll look at what some of the surrounding areas have done and get some examples and maybe provide that information to you, to maybe we can discuss maybe at the next board meeting or whatever, some options that you might have about what changes, if any, you'd like to make.
The decimal levels, probably. As far as how to judge it, grade it.
And that's true.
We've done this a million times.
Some tie it to a certain decibel level beyond, past a certain time. And how that's judged. I found some examples of that, but I can provide that information for you, and you all can consider what you think's best, maybe going forward. And the last thing on my list, we had a couple questions last time about some DOT issues. One was with the timing of these traffic lights. I reached out to Anna Henderson with DOT, and she answered both questions. The first one, with regard to the timing, was when these lights were initially installed throughout the bypass, they were just individual lights that's operated independently of any other system. So when vehicles pulled up, they changed on their own sequence. They have changed that recently because that is a bypass corridor, so that what she said, what you would have though sometimes is people were coming from maybe Asheville going to Spruce Pine, whatever, they every individual light would catch them coming through with a bypass. They've worked those into where they work as a sequence now, so technically if you're coming through, once you've set through one light, you're probably gonna catch a green at the next light on through. They work as a system now. That's the way DOT has arranged that. She said the result of that is if you come off a side street, you may have a longer wait depending on when on that sequence you caught that light. It's not just changing individually by itself, it's depending on the other lights in the system.
And a shorter green light.
There.
Yeah, you don't have room on South Main. Once it starts backing up, it's backed up halfway around the square.
Yeah, it's the same way down at Hunter Street too.
Yeah.
Backs way up.
She
And
said that
lets
can
3
be-
cars through.
That can be a byproduct of that, with it being.
Yeah.
I beg to differ with Miss Henderson. She would like to come driving me in a dump truck through town, because I've been stopped at 197, 197, Ingalls, and this one,
And I'm
all,
sure that's
all
not
in the same,
exact,
all in
I'm
the
sure
same
that's
truck.
not exact science of timing that out. I don't know how that timing works, but that's what it's supposed to be. The other question we have is about, putting in, something with the West Overlane Fire Department. There, she said that absolutely was an option. The only problem was with the fire department being the thing that has created the need for that it would be on the town or the fire department to pay for that. And she was very hesitant about giving a ballpark figure. She said because, to match what we already have in town, we have the metal poles, and because you're talking 4 lanes of traffic, she said it would start at around $100,000 and go up from there depending. She said she was currently working with Black Mountain, who is putting in a similar system, only they already have the lights there. They're just looking to put in the ability for the fire department to trigger that. And she said the price on that's around $25,000, and the lights and everything are already in place. It's just the timing of the signal and having the setup for the fire department to trigger that. So I thought I'd share that information with you. She said most jurisdictions that look to do something like this, it's a 5-year plan or something like that. They start budgeting for it to get it done in the future.
Yeah, but they don't have a fire chief that writes grants all the time.
And that's true, that's true. But that was the answer that I got from her on both those issues. Police department wise, that was kind of my update. And zoning code enforcement, we've had a couple projects turned in, nothing major new, but we just, again, if anyone asks, we're not holding up Taco Bell, but whenever they want to start, they're more than welcome to start. From the town's perspective, we've not done anything there. And again, there's been several discussions of future projects, we just haven't had that paperwork turned in yet, but I expect some more soon.
It's Facebook official.
It's
Keep
huge
encouraging,
some.
it's gonna start
It
something.
won't be long, it says.
All right, thank you, chief. All right, Mr. Corbin.
Yeah, so this month, I probably say it last month, we have 23 events. I think it actually went down one event. But next month we have 20 for now, with those get filled in. A couple of concerts coming up. May 27th, we have Willie Wells and Blue Ridge Mountain Grass. They are a bluegrass group. And then on June 17th, we have New Blue and Mountain Highway. That's 2 separate groups. And they are country, a mix of country and bluegrass. Then later throughout the year, I do have more concerts coming up that I'll have updated on the website, and I'll share with you guys at our next meeting. Also on June 24th, we have the Hard Times Benefit Concert. So a bunch of music coming up. I think I have, except for next month, I have one concert every month. So that's a lot of music, a lot of fun. But that's really all I have for now. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could add something to that. This day and age, reviews are very important, and they keep trickling in, and they've always been 5 stars with this young man, so
Good.
he's doing a good job.
Great job, Corbin.
Good job, Corbin.
Very good.
Thank you. All right, item number 9, council member reports. Anybody have a
I have
report?
one.
Denise has one.
Yes, Mayor,
Good.
if you don't mind. At the Mountain Heritage High School, the FBLA has 8 students that placed in the top 4 in their events, which makes them eligible to compete at the national level in Chicago, Illinois on June 28th through July 3rd. And I thought that was a very good accomplishment. Because, I mean, to go from state to nationals, that's fantastic. This trip does come with a cost, and I think it's $1,400 per student to go. And so they're doing some fundraising with spaghetti dinner, and then I think they're taking donations also. So I wanted just to put that out there for everybody to know in case they were a big fan of FBLA, wanted to help these students along. I think you just contact the high school if you want to be a part of anything. Yeah, so congratulations to those students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Denise.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? You don't have one? All right, moving on to item number 10. 10A, the planning board, consideration of applicants for alternate vacancy. We actually have two applicants at this time. But the membership is suffice at this time, is that correct?
Yeah, we
Heather?
have 2 alternates currently, that could sub in at any point if need be. We've got them throughout the year. There is a 3rd spot that's open if we wanted to.
When does their term up? I mean, is it
The 2 alternates.
the calendar year
It varies. The 2
or? Oh, yeah,
alternates
because
right
it's a
now
2-year. I'm sorry.
are
That's right.
January of next year right now.
What's the board's pleasure on that? Does anybody?
Got one open?
Yeah, just one opening.
We currently have 2 alternates on, but there's a 3rd opening, correct?
So there's one opening for an alternate. Richard, I can't pronounce. Thank you.
Start saying we have one of them in the audience.
I make a motion for Mr.
Richard.
Say it one more time. Dearlock.
Rick.
For Rick.
Rick.
I'll second that one.
Agree. Passed unanimously. Chad?
Thank you.
All right. Rick, welcome.
We appreciate your willingness to serve.
And there's always an opening, so, usually, so just put in another application if you wanna try again.
We just keep
So-
it on file, don't we?
Do we keep it on
We
file?
keep it on file unless
All right.
the applicant asks that it be removed as these positions move off.
All right.
I'll reach out to you with more information.
Yeah, thanks for your willingness to serve. All right, Jamie's not here. Do you have anything for him, Heather?
No, he said he didn't really have, he had another engagement tonight, and he did not have anything that was pressing that needed to be updated.
What about the farmer's market thing? Is it stalled or?
Well, I think there's been, they were working with the students in Appalachian about that, and I think they're having ongoing conversations with how it's gonna get done, or if they're gonna have to. I think part of it, they did commit to doing,
Right.
but then another part maybe not, so I'm not really sure.
Because I thought March or April it started.
Yeah, I mean, the grading, I think, is finished, they're just waiting on the student cohort. And I really don't know, Randy, the latest update on it. It's just, I've heard the rumblings that they were trying to work something out about what App State was gonna do and what maybe they were gonna have to contract somebody else to do.
All right, Christie's not here either, is she?
Mm-mm. She didn't call us with anything she had either.
This has been a fast meeting.
It's not even 7 o'clock.
Next month will make up for it.
Yeah. You have High Country's report in your packet. Mr. Withers, do you have anything you'd like to comment
I
on?
did not, get to attend the last meeting, so I have nothing. Nothing on that.
All right, there's no closed session.
I think,
Nope.
I think just a mention about the work that Appalachian did on that building for the community and the paper that.
Well, and we
That was
were planning
outstanding.
on, that was a grant that was, the grant that was submitted to Commerce last week. And so we were kind of waiting to see, you know, if we had some news to sort of unveil the plans, but I certainly, I mean, they did a fabulous job.
Home run.
On everything.
Excellent.
Great. Yeah, it was very good. Just hope we're able to move forward with it at some point. It was they done a great job at a very,
Low cost
very
at the
low
time.
cost.
Yeah, it was.
All right, next council meeting, June the 2nd. 6 p.m. I'm assuming that's on a Thursday this time, right?
It is.
Good deal. Thanks everyone for coming. Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We're adjourned.